Well, Dave, it's the first day. We've sure talked to a lot of people already. And
my Lord,
I was hoarse this morning.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. We got here yesterday afternoon, which was Wednesday afternoon, made one circuit of the vendor room, and we must have talked to 70, 75 people. And just, people we've known, listeners, just vendors. It's fantastic. And man, this show is beautiful. It's a great facility. The drive up was easy. You drove for us. It was 7 hours. We brought our mandatory Australian with us, and I can't say enough. It's only Thursday morning, and I'm super impressed.
Well, we got fan favorite Evan McCallum here with us. What do you think this year, man?
Well, it's only just getting started still, but I've already spent a lot of money in the vendor room, and I haven't actually really seen the display area yet. We saw it yesterday when we were putting our models up, but it was still pretty early.
We've not been to the model room yet.
Yeah, I got to get in there and see all the cool stuff. And I mean, I'm going to come there the next day, and then there's going to be more stuff.
Exactly. I'm letting it fill up a little till we walk through it. But yeah, it's just...
Did you bring any?
Oh yeah, I brought 2 models. I brought my Panzer III I finished recently, and my Chinese amphibious thing. That's the...
You had the Panzer III at Heritage Con, didn't
Yes,
you?
but it didn't have the base at that point.
Oh, that's right. Didn't have the base yet. Well, I look forward to seeing that.
I really like the scheme on that Chinese, the multi-tone blue, gray, whatever.
It's stunning and hideous at the same time.
That's a great way to put it. But it seems to have sparked an interest in Chinese, modern Chinese AFVs for you.
Yeah, well, I already had a little bit of interest, but I bought that, and then I bought the ZLC 2000 that you brought for me at Heritage Con, and then I'm eyeing every single Chinese armor kit that exists at this show.
And you've already scoped out a couple here that you're going to have to acquire sooner or later, right?
Absolutely. And it's impressive this year because all the vendors are in one room.
Yes.
Last year, and I believe the year before, they had them distributed out in a few areas, but if it's all in one spot like this, it's a little overwhelming.
It is. In fact, Mike was talking about the vendor room is so large, it's almost hard to get an impression.
I can't tell how many people are here.
Of how big and how crowded it is, because the aisles are really wide. It's cavernous in a really good way.
Yeah.
Ceiling's high, so it's not too loud in here.
Yeah. So let's see. We got together last night, had a nice meal. Again, this morning, just talking to people, having a great time. We've got the podcast Q&A coming up. You've got a seminar tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Steve Hustad's got a seminar tomorrow.
Right after mine.
Yeah.
Back to back.
So I'm looking forward to this. Again, people need to pay attention to the seminars. They are fantastic, and they're an underappreciated thing.
Have we ever had this back-to-back thing before?
What?
Where they conflict because they're...
Oh, side-by-side kind of thing?
Yeah. It depends on the facility and how many of the conference rooms a facility has as to how many seminar tracks they can get running. But yeah, I mean, that does happen. That's why when you first get to the convention, you take the seminar list and you go through it right away and circle, because you're going to need to look and see, 2 seminars that you want to see both of them. And do they conflict? Sometimes they run the same seminar multiple days, and you got to pay attention to that.
What have you bought, Evan? You spent much money yet?
I spent a little bit. I bought a couple kits yesterday, a Dragon kit I was looking for, and I traded something for a modern Russian tank, and I'm just picking up all the little bits of stowage and value gear bits and bobs, because that's definitely what you look for at the show, like decals, sheets, figures, little bits of aftermarket here and there. And it's always a good price, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's as much for that as it is for the kits, and also the books. I mean...
Oh, the books, too, yeah.
They're really good.
I think you spent more money than me, though.
Yeah, so far, but you're going to catch up.
We'll have a tally on the last day.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll touch base again. Well, we'll let you get back to your friends and spend some more money.
Yeah,
And we'll,
absolutely.
See you at your seminar.
All right.
Welcome to Plastic Model Mojo, a podcast dedicated to scale modeling as well as the news and events around the hobby. Let's join Mike and Kentucky Dave as they strive to be informative, entertaining, and help you keep your modeling mojo alive.
Folks, we're at episode 120, and this is going to be our IPMS National Convention recap episode where we get into some of the segments we recorded while at the convention and some commentary around that. Dave, to quote Jed Clampett, well, doggies.
Yes, sir. Wow. That doesn't begin to touch it.
Well, let's frame it with what's up in your model sphere, Dave.
All right. What's up in my model sphere is I am on a post-convention high. I am also, I think, the most exhausted I've ever been when I've come back from a convention. Wow. It was wow. I've been to 28 or 29 of these things. If this wasn't number one, it was number 1, 2, or 3. It was amazing. The vendors, the facility, the weather. I don't know how Jeff Hearn managed to arrange that weather, but it made the walking around downtown Madison in the evenings to get dinner just super pleasant, or going to the farmer's market on Saturday morning before the convention opened. There's only one thing I could think of that would have made it better, and I think will probably end up being done at future conventions, is live streaming the award ceremony. They had an overflow room like they do many conventions, but they were not able to, for whatever reason, live stream it so that you could sit in your hotel room and watch the award ceremony. But other than that, it was just amazing. And I came home exhausted. All the walking, all the talking, all the really great meals. My wallet came home lighter. We'll explore that later. Just quality all the way around. The guys and gals at Madison are to be congratulated for pulling it off, and not only pulling it off, but making it look easy. So what'd you think of it, Mike?
All that in a bag of chips. It's currently in my model sphere living the paradox of being supercharged to get some stuff finished and get on to some new projects, but being just too dang exhausted to even want to crack a bottle of paint or pick up a pair of tweezers at the workbench.
Yes, I've had I probably had less than an hour's worth of modeling since I got back. And a lot of that is modeling in very slow motion.
But I agree with you on all points. I just think it was just a super venue. The weather was phenomenal. I wish there was a place on earth where it was 72 degrees and 30% relative humidity all the time.
Yep.
That's probably nirvana.
Or San Diego.
I don't even know if it's San Diego, man.
Just absolutely pleasant.
It was, and there's just so much going on. And yeah, Jeff and his team did a fabulous job. I don't know, man. That was right up there.
Yeah, I'm hard pressed to think of a better one.
So I just been thumbing through all my purchases and trying to figure out whether I'm up or down.
Yeah.
And hopefully this weekend I'll get redirected and back to the bench, because I'm inspired to get my current slate of unfinished work finished. And I've got a couple things I want to start, some of them from the old list and some of them that have come to light just by attending Nats and buying stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Mike, Not that we didn't have some modeling fluid at the convention, but we also brought home modeling fluid from the convention. So do you have some modeling fluid tonight?
I do, Dave, and it's a listener provided, as you alluded to. I'm enjoying a little Breckenridge straight bourbon whiskey.
So what listener provided that to us?
Mr. Brad Belsheim provided this, and I'm most grateful for it. We'll get into it in the wrap-up section, but so far it's pretty good, Dave. We sure enjoyed some at the show.
Yes, I will say I am one of the really nice things about listeners bringing us modeling fluid from all over is we get to try modeling fluids that we don't ever see. A case in point is what I'm drinking tonight, which is Black Hops Brewery Super Hornet Double IPA. This is from Australia and was provided by our good friend, the Quokka, Paul Gloucester. There's zero chance I would ever have been exposed to this beer were it not for the fact that he hauled it from halfway around the world and brought it to us as a modeling fluid contribution. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Sounds good, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll sip these down till we get to the end, but we got a little bit of listener mail.
Yep.
Everybody's been kind of busy the last week for obvious reasons.
I wonder why.
That said, though, we still have a few.
Okay.
A couple from me, and I think you've got some as well, Dave.
Yes, I've got a couple.
Well, this one's kind of interesting. Mr. Robert Klein has written in, and he's kind of coming off episode 118 as has written this. And Robert is in Morrowtown, Virginia, which is in the heart of the Shenandoah Valley.
Know exactly where it is.
And he says he used to be stationed at Fort Knox and was a member of our club in 1988.
I was there.
And I was too, in and out.
Yep.
That's when that was the first time I ever set foot in that geography. But anyway, he has fond memories of Brian's shop under Dr. Hill's chiropractic office.
Yep.
We've had many hours of enjoyment under that chiropractic office.
Yep.
Our workshop was formed there, and we've had many meetings there. And then, of course, Brian's shop was there for a long, long time.
Yep.
He made many trips there. And then in 1989, Robert and Rich Mitchell, Pat Cooney, and Dan Norman started the Gold Bricker Scale Modelers up in Radcliffe, Kentucky, which is the town adjacent to Fort Knox. And all those names are familiar.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And he remembers coming to our shows. And one time he won Best of Armor for his M4A1 Sherman 105 millimeter. Misses the area. Great group of people, great group of modelers. Keep up the fantastic job with the podcast. Well, thanks, Robert. And it's always interesting to hear from people who we've crossed paths with in the past.
Well, and I would echo his sentiments. I mean, not only are we very lucky to have a really good local hobby shop with scale reproductions, we're also lucky to have a really good model club, MMCL, the Military Modelers Club of Louisville. It's been going on since 1976. A great group of men and women. We've a long tradition of shows, of build days, of really great meetings. And so, I look back on those and those are very, very happy memories. And I remember the Gold Brickers too, and Rich Mitchell and all of those guys. I mean, very, very fond memories.
Well, our next one, I really like this next one. It's from our friend from the Hamilton Club, Duncan Young. And we just saw Duncan at Nats, and we saw Duncan at AMPS, and we saw Duncan at Heritage Con. So we're seeing a lot of Duncan.
And Duncan brought me a little present too.
He brought us some bourbon too.
Yes.
Or whiskey. And we'll get to that later, but we might get to it here because it's part of his email.
Okay.
He's just back from Nats like us, and he's offered us a few thoughts 2 days post-convention. IPMS National Convention highlights. Running into old friends and making new ones.
Amen. That's the number one thing.
And let me get through these, and then we'll chat about it a little bit.
Sure.
The wide variety of seminars. His top 3 included Fine Scale Modelers 40 Years in Retrospect, Panzermeister's Armor Weathering Overview, and ICM and the impact of the Ukraine-Russia conflict on their lives and business. hanging out with all the other modeling delinquents in the dojo on Thursday evening. He told his roommate that he'd be gone for an hour and instead spent close to 3 hours out of the house. Good times talking with the model geeks and scrolling through armor project photos with aforementioned Brad Belsheim, and then also getting up close with the armor category during judging on Friday night, and hanging out with his fellow IPMS Hamilton Club members, Bernie Hack, Alan Murrell, and his daughter Ariel. And then he's got some information about his whiskey donation details that we'll save until we actually get that one on air as the modeling fluid. So what do you think of all that stuff, Dave?
One of the things that made this convention particularly good was the fact that it was located close to the border with America's Hat. The Canadians showed up strong. I mean, super strong. They brought a bus, and it was great to see them because we love our Canadian friends and really, really enjoy spending time with them. It was nice for them to get to come to a U.S. Nationals in force. Heritage Con is about as close as they get to a Nationals, and it's a one-day show, and it's an amazing one-day show. But there's nothing like the experience of a U.S. Nationals, and I'm glad they got to experience it. And it just made the contest that much better.
He brought you another gift.
Yes, he did.
The Hamilton Club did. And speaking of seminars, during the podcast roundtable and Q&A session, we had the old Moosaroo reveal and kit distribution.
Yep.
And man, you couldn't have hit it any perfect.
No.
You thought the Mustang 72nd scale Arma kit was right up your wheelhouse. Well, I think finally they've managed to sneak one in that's probably even more so.
Yes. The brand new ICM kit, the two German mini submarines, the Molk and the Seehund. The Molk and the Seehund. And it's a brand new kit. ICM, who showed up at the show, brought these these kits have only been released within like the last 6 months or so. They are right up my alley. A really, really nice looking and interesting set of kits. And the Canadians presented us with an additional challenge, which is not just building the kit, but putting it in a vignette setting. And I'm really, really looking forward to giving this a run. So we're not allowed to start till August 3rd. So in the meantime, I'm fondling the kit. I'm doing my research. I've already ordered some aftermarket that I'll talk about later. So yeah, it was fantastic. The Moosaroo is just a neat little enjoyable contest.
Well, that's all I got from the email side of things, Dave. Has anything come through Facebook direct message?
Yes, a few things. Well, actually, a ton of stuff came through, but most of it was related to the Nationals. Either people reaching out to us saying, hey, I'm here. Where are you? Where's the dojo? I have some modeling fluid. Where do you want me to bring it? You know. There was tons of that, and I'm not going to bother to go over all that because we'll touch on aspects of it later. But there are 3 DMs that I wanted to point out. First is our friend Mike Halliday, who's in Iowa. Apparently, Gumball Head has finally arrived in Iowa. He sent me a picture today. He was in the local grocery store or liquor store and sent me a picture. They have Gumball Head in Iowa now. So he was most pleased as he enjoyed Gumball Head. And so he's now really happy to have access to it.
Well, a few people enjoyed it in the dojo too.
Yeah. They hit what we brought hard, but we also received many, many good beers. Our German friend really supplied us well, so good time in the dojo was had by all. Next, modeler Bobble Young we first met him personally face to face at Wonderfest this year, and where he brought his latest creation, and he was really great to talk to. And then he again was at the Nationals with the same model, got to talk to him a little more, and finally he reached out and were able to make a connection on Facebook so that we can DM in the future. And he was shocked that we weren't already connected through Facebook. So it was really nice to make that connection, and I'm looking forward to using it in the future to ask him plenty of questions about his creations.
Well, I think he might have won Best of Show, Dave.
Oh, did he?
I think so.
I would not be at all shocked by that. I didn't stay for the end of the awards ceremony because it went on really late, and you and I had to get packed up and ready so that we could get out early Sunday morning. But it would not surprise me that we got to see that model close up at Wonderfest, and it is an amazing model, an amazing piece of engineering, and would be well deserved to win best of show.
Got any more?
Yeah, one more. This happens to people, and I want to express my sympathies. Larry Donovan, who isn't that far away from Madison, had life intervene and thus wasn't able to come to Madison. We all have life, and we all understand, this is our hobby. It's not our job. It's not the number one thing. So sometimes you have to make the sacrifice, and it really hurts hard when you make that sacrifice and the show is very, very close to you. So I assured Larry that we would hoist one in the dojo, thinking of him, and we did at least one. I hope that he gets to come to Hampton next year, because I have zero doubt, having been to previous shows in the Hampton and Virginia Beach area, that this is going to be a really, really good show as well.
Is that it?
That's it.
Dave, one of the things we try to do when we go to the National Convention, or really any show, regional, invitational, amps, whatever, we try to seek out some unique things that may not be, I don't know how to say it, as mainstream as some other things, maybe. That'd be a good way to say it.
Yep.
And I think for a lot of modelers, real space kind of falls into that category. It's not as represented as heavily as, armor and aircraft and cars and a whole lot of other stuff.
Yep.
But
we love it.
But we love it, and it's no less important. And we got to catch up with a gentleman named Chris Drew, who runs a company called Shadow 3D, who's doing a lot of real space subjects in a lot of scales, just about any scale you want, really, when it comes down to it. And
yep.
He had a nice display, had a lot of nice kits, and the real space folks were certainly cruising by his table and buying stuff.
Dave Goldfinch had placed a massive pre-order with him, so we got to hear about that on the way up to Madison. And having seen his stuff, I can understand why Dave spent money at that vendor.
That's great. Yeah, no kidding. I've always loved it.
Well, Dave, we always try to give real space a little love, and we got a standout real space vendor here at the IPMS National Convention. Just across the way from us, Mr. Chris Drew of Shadow 3D. Chris, thanks for stopping by and having a little chat with us.
Oh, I appreciate it. Appreciate giving me the venue to get my name and my product out to the audience.
Well, why don't you explain to us what all you've got going on over there?
Okay, well, I'm a retired Air Force officer, Space Miss officer. Taught school for 5 years, so I decided to make a change and start my 3D model company. I wanted to focus on space launch rockets, because niche that's not covered well.
Yeah. No, it's not.
So my goal is to provide high quality, high detail, reasonably priced kits.
Now, how long have you been doing this?
10 months.
Okay. Oh, that I did not realize you were that recent into the market.
Yes, 10 months. I started 10 months ago with 5 different rockets. I now have 23.
Are you doing your own CAD or your own CAD work? Or
I do all the work. All the CAD, printing, decals, instructions, everything.
What kind of printer are you using?
I'm using the Elegoo Saturn III Ultra.
Okay. Because you print some pretty big parts. I mean, it's I've got to say you've got some of your sample parts out on display, and 2 things: one, the detail is incredible, and 2, there's some rather large parts. Do you have any problem printing those?
Not usually.
Okay.
The height is usually not so much of the problem. It's just making sure I don't run out of resin during the print.
Yeah, that's a problem sometimes.
Mike sympathizes with that.
And with the living in Florida, the longer prints sometimes with the thunderstorms, it gets nerve-wracking not to making sure you don't lose power in the middle of a print.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's.
So you're out of Florida? Where?
Yes, I live in Niceville, Florida, so
Okay.
near Destin.
Gotcha. I know exactly where it is.
Well, the product looks really good, and I think a testament to that is I call them the IPMS Real Space Mafia. There's a small cadre of 4 or 5 guys that we saw over there, Mike Idacavage and Mike Mikowski and all those guys, and I know Mike bought something, and then our travel companion Dave Goldfinch from On the Bench had a pre-order with you and stopped over there. He's a big Real Space guy. Is it proven popular? It seems to be.
I've done really well so far.
Okay, well that's
That's
good.
good news.
You got 2 days to go.
I'm only halfway through the show, and I've already surpassed what my minimum hopeful goal was going to be
That's
for the
great.
entire show.
That's great. That's good news. So now, and 72nd scale is my favorite scale. And because you're doing these as 3D print, you can scale them to any scale you want. And I know while a lot of the products you have are 196 or 144th on your table, you print any of them in 72nd scale as a special order for your customers.
Yes, I
correct?
do.
Okay.
I haven't had enough sales to justify bringing a 72nd scale of each of the kits.
That's a lot of resin.
That's a lot of resin and a lot of cost for just getting started.
Right.
There's a few kits I might start bringing one of to
Gotcha.
a show. But I have started had pickup on my orders on the 72nd scale.
How many shows have you vended at? I know this is your first national,
This is my-
obviously.
I think this is my 6th or 7th show total.
Okay, in 10 months. Well, that's impressive.
I've been trying to do one about every month, every 6 weeks or so.
Gotcha.
Oh wow.
So, what do you have coming up? What's your next product that's not currently available, but that you're working on and you plan to have out soon?
That will be my Jimny Titan
Oh,
kit.
okay.
I expect to have it out by the end of August.
That would
if
be-
everything goes good.
And that's a real hole in the real space arena because there's not a good one out there.
And on this one, this is also one of the handful of kits I am also going to be producing in 48 scale.
Oh wow!
Oh, man.
Okay,
Yeah,
that will be.
I can see that. That'd be a good. That'd be a nice model in that scale.
Yes.
So all my ICBMs are available in 48 scale.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So the LGM 25C Titan II will be following right after Jimny Titan.
Okay, that makes sense since there's so much commonality to it. Now, obviously, you do mail order.
Yes.
Where can people find you on the internet?
Right now, the best way to contact me is actually to find me on Facebook,
Okay.
Shadow 3D.
Shadow. That's SHADOW 3D.
Right. Make sure you put a space between Shadow and 3D to find me
Gotcha.
on Facebook. To find pictures of my products. Best way to contact me is to email me at shadow3dmodels@gmail.com.
Okay, shadow3dmodels@gmail.com. And
We've got your card here, and we'll put all that in the show notes when the episode drops, and hopefully things will move for you.
Appreciate it. I am building a website. I do have a web address now. It is shadow3dmodels.com, but I have not got it built yet.
Gotcha.
I just got the web address last week.
Well, I assume that you've been, in addition to vending, you've been doing a fair amount of mail order, because I know
Yes.
Dave Goldfinch pre-ordered stuff, and you were kind enough to bring it to the show to him. I assume that's the main channel of your sales is mail order?
Yes.
Okay.
The show's been the way to get my name out
Gotcha.
and meet my customers,
Yeah.
get feedback, get suggestions.
Well, your table seems to be busy pretty much constantly, so it's obviously working for you so far.
It has been. And customer feedback is why my Project Mercury, Redstone, and Atlas are done now, and along doing Jiminy Titan. I had so many
Gotcha.
responses at Chattanooga wanting those kits. I pushed them up the build
Gotcha.
time frames.
Gotcha.
Well, I was going to ask, what's your most requested thing that you don't have yet?
A lot of people have been asking for Saturns.
Okay.
So my plan, I'm hoping to have for Nationals next year, is Saturn 1B Apollo 7.
Yeah, has that one been kitted before by anybody?
Airfix has done it, and there's
Yes.
a couple resin kits that are harder to find.
Yeah.
The Airfix kit now is very difficult to find.
Yes.
because
Okay.
It's not in production anymore.
And it had its challenges.
It has its challenges, and the other kits, resin kits out there, have their missing details. So I'm going to
You're
try to
fix all that.
I'm going to try to get it fixed and have a very well detailed kit.
Okay.
Good.
Well, if it's anything like the ones you've got over there now, it ought to be a slam dunk.
Yep, you've got some great stuff. It's good to see you, good to see your product, and I'm always happy to see new manufacturers come out and fill a niche that there's a real demand for.
I appreciate it. Because I'm also going to branch out a little bit into aircraft.
Okay.
Okay.
What types of things?
Right now I'm planning on doing a near complete 1/144th scale B-52 series
Okay.
and KC-135 series. I'm also getting ready to start the research for an XB-70.
I was about to ask, are any of the X-planes or lifting bodies in your
I
interest?
plan on doing probably the X-37.
Okay.
The space plane,
Yes.
since it fits the niche and part of the whole bit. And there's other kits out there I'm thinking about doing. I'm strongly considering doing a 72nd scale Y1B-17,
Okay.
just because it's never been
Right.
kitted other than that one rare planes vacuum form.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, listen, thanks for joining us. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And,
Appreciate you having me on your show.
No problem.
Yep.
And again, it's Shadow 3D, Mr. Chris Drew. And if you like real space, you're gonna want to check it out.
I'll tell you what, Mike, I don't know about you, but I was impressed by what this vendor has done. I mean, the fact that they've been doing it for only 10 months and to have produced the depth and breadth of the catalog that they have, and the ability to basically print any of their items in any scale you want. I can tell you that I've already talked to Mr. Drew, and he's going to be printing a SpaceX Falcon 9 for me sometime in the very near future in 72nd scale. This is cutting edge. I think we're going to see more vendors like this. And boy, is it going to expand the modeling opportunities that the real space modelers have. And I couldn't be more pleased.
Well, I was impressed too. He had a lot of stuff, and he had a lot of stuff on one table, I think, for a while. And then I think maybe there was a vacancy opened up next to him, and he kind of spread out a little bit. But
Yep.
he had a lot of stuff, and the guys I call the Real Space Mafia were certainly, I think I saw them all cruise by his table at one point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I know Mike Adakavich had mentioned him during our Real Space episode not too far back. And yeah, it's looking pretty good.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, David, let's have a word from our sponsor.
Plastic Model Mojo is brought to you by Model Paint Solutions, Your source for Harder and Steenbeck airbrushes, David Union power tools, and laboratory-grade mixing, measuring, and storage tools for use with all your model paints, be they acrylic, enamels, or lacquers. Check them out at www.modelpaintsolutions.com.
Dave, our next guest should be familiar to Plastic Model Mojo listeners. It's Uncle Ed Barrett.
Yeah, it was good to see Ed at the show.
Well, Ed was having a good old time at the show.
Yes, he was.
And, he wanted to stop by and share a little bit, and he even put on a seminar about systems engineering as it relates to scale modeling, and let's get into that.
You got it.
Dave?
Yeah.
We got a Plastic Model Mojo personality with us now.
Yes, we do.
Uncle Ed Barrett.
Yep. Fresh off.
Dr. Uncle to you.
Okay, Dr. Uncle Ed. Dr. Ed Barrett.
Fresh off giving a seminar yesterday on what he's spoken previously with us about.
How'd it go, Ed?
I think it went well, and honestly, I've had people today come up to me and say they really enjoyed it. It was not what they were expecting. They were a little nervous. I should have put in the title, no math was involved. Because I think people, honestly, I thought people in system engineering, I thought people might take it a little too esoteric, or I was going to start showing equations and this and that.
Start doing
and no.
algebra and stuff.
Yeah. So
differential equations.
I think it went well, and I think a lot of people came up and said, yeah, that's the big push was just that the model's quality is dependent on the viewing distance that most people will see it. And you should use that as a criteria for how crazy you should be in making the model flawless. That you're not doing anybody any favor, including yourself, to make a model flawless from closer than when anybody sees it.
So I assume that giving a seminar isn't the only thing you've been doing. Have you managed to spend a little money in the vendor
Yes,
room?
I did, and it's partly your fault.
Good.
Partly your fault. You guys turned me on to this one-man army stencil.
Yeah, we did. You
Yes,
won
you
one
did.
of our giveaways
Yes,
a long
I
time
did.
ago.
And I'm using it here, and I got the company is here, and I actually got the guy to look at my kit and said he enjoyed it. And so I took the plunge, and I bought another 30-second Dauntless set and another 30-second Devastator set.
Fantastic.
Well, speaking of that model, we went up there. We saw you up in the model room and looked over your stuff, saw your diorama, saw your big airplanes. Nice
Yeah,
stuff.
and-
You must build for close distance.
Well, if you and again, that's what if you're going to build for Nats is unforgiving. I mean, you literally have to build flawless at 3 inches.
Pretty
to be
much.
competitive here.
Yeah.
But the flip side is, if you're not building for Nats, if you're building for your local thing, then building it flawless for 3 inches is a waste of your time.
Well, I really like the large-scale planes you've done, and I hope one day you'll graduate to 72nd scale, move up.
Just armor. I just do 70. And the funny thing is,
Well, that's a gateway. 72nd scale armor's a gateway. Next thing you know, you'll build a
72nd planes.
helicopter and then 72nd scale aircraft, and
I
we'll
don't
get you.
think so.
No, but I do like working in 72nd. And the other thing I sort of like that I reminded people at the seminar was the whole point was about finishing kits. And we're sitting here at Natch, and there are thousands of models upstairs.
Yep.
Thousands, all kinds of colors, paints, styles, but they have one thing in common.
They're finished.
They're finished.
That's right.
They are finished.
As opposed to the ones down here in this
Yeah.
room.
Hey, as
I've even
opposed to
got
the
one
ones that people
finished one up
stash.
there.
As-
I've even got a finished model up
All
there.
right.
That feels good, I'll admit it.
As opposed to all the people who have their shelves of doom.
That's right.
And so, finish it.
Yeah. Now, are you judging tonight?
No, I'm not
Okay.
judging. I'm not judging tonight. I thought you had to be like volunteer for a couple of years.
Well, you volunteer in your first year. You do what's called OJT, on-the-job training, where you're a volunteer who's paired with a judging team. And so once you've done that, then you move on to the qualified list, and then you can judge any of the following years.
Okay, well, I sort of misunderstood, and I thought you had to commit to like a couple of years, and I can't commit to being in Virginia next year. I mean,
Come on,
at least
Ed.
not this early.
Come on, Ed. You're going to come to Virginia.
No.
You know you are.
That's
again,
coast to coast.
the plan next year would be to fly, because we drove this year,
Sure.
think of it, but I would fly to Virginia, so I wouldn't really take anything. I'd check out the show, and then we would use it as a road trip, because we haven't been to South Carolina and North Carolina, and that area town.
Yeah.
And it would be good to kind of check that stuff out. I hear there's some sort of quilt museum in Paducah, Kentucky.
There is.
That,
Your wife would love it.
Yes.
Trust me.
Yes, and we hit the one in Lincoln, Nebraska, is an international one, which was really very interesting. So we had fun there.
What do you got in the works? What's next down the pipe for Ed?
Well, that's a good question. I promised that I would go back to 3D to get back to I have a 3D printer. I haven't used it in a while. I've committed to a 3D Mars rover that I've downloaded the files from NASA. And Balbal Young, who you guys met at WonderCon, is promised to tutor me on it. And so I'm going to put, it's
pretty good tutor.
If you can get him to tutor you.
It's like Picasso teaching you to paint.
Yeah, that's right.
So I can't pass that up. So that's a priority to get that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, he's out there near you, right?
Yeah, well, he's out in Pasadena, and I'm in Northridge, basically. So he's promised to do that. That'll keep me busy. I'm still working with the museum, and I might as well ask the Jovians if they can help me. We want to do this diorama about a B-25 that was filmed at Edwards Air Force Base, because I'm working with the museum.
Yeah.
And I managed literally to find somebody who made that diorama with the 148th, but he only used the pilot. It's that thing. So we got him to donate it, but the trick now is we need to put a film crew to show. That's really what we're trying. So
this was from Catch 22?
No, this was from King 9 Will Not Return.
Okay.
Twilight Zone.
All right.
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone.
That's it. That's right. I'm wrong.
And so we're trying to I've been looking all over this place for a 48th scale film crew, tripods, boom mics, director's chairs. There's a circular film. We have some great reference pictures actually showing the film crew on set. And I've been looking around, and the funny thing is I find these 3D printers, and as soon as I mention figures, they hide. You know, you want a rocket ship? No problem. You want a gas can? No problem. You want a figure? Forget it.
You may be stuck with converting some figures and scratch building the film equipment.
I may be, but I might as well put it out there. And I've asked pretty much everybody here. And I found some sort of stuff that might pass, but it's been in 35th.
Sure.
It's nothing that's really finishable in 48th. And so that's my next goal, to try to finish that for the museum.
Well, I think that's a neat idea. And we talked about it last time you were on.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it'll be cool. Hopefully somebody out there in the listening audience can help piece something together.
Or
that's
honestly, right. if you do 3D figures, I'd be interested in talking to you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, this will get the word out.
Yep.
You know, I mean, if you can't advertise when you're on the damn radio, I mean, what is the point?
Yeah.
And so I'll have to pick what I want to do next. I don't know, probably another 48th. I'm not sure. I still have a Edward Wildcat.
Okay.
That I haven't finished, believe it or not, because I was caught up with the 32nd, and that took longer than I thought. And so I might go for that. I don't know. I look at the stash and see. I'll have to look at the stash and see what talks to me.
I understand that completely.
I mean, don't they talk to you too?
They
That's
do,
true.
but
You know,
they talk a little louder when I might maybe have a stencil set for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. You know, and build me.
I would like to
That's
see
right.
a 30-second Dauntless from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm amazed at the quality here.
Yeah.
I am floored.
Blows
It's
me
good.
away.
I am floored.
Well, Ed, we're going to get you back on the show for an episode again here, hopefully before the end of the year. And we talked about maybe even third chairing you. So
Yeah.
I would be happy to be caught, you know, in any scene of crime with you people.
You got it.
we almost did last night.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. and I made it home, and I found the Monjovians who even gave me a ride home.
Well,
That's good.
Good for them.
And so, yes, and I'm looking forward to all your next stuff.
Well, thank you for stopping by, man. It's been great.
Thanks, Ed.
You know, Mike, it's always good to see Ed. Typical, you know, I know he's spent most of his life in California, but he's your typical New Yorker, just gregarious, wants to meet everybody, wants to talk with everybody. And, you know, he could talk your ear off, but the conversation's always good. The only thing I regret is that we didn't get to see his seminar because it was exactly opposite the podcast roundtable. So, but I understand from people who went that it was really very interesting. And Ed's one of those people that I always look forward to seeing at the Nationals.
Well, he was lobbying hard to come back on the show and possibly even get in the third chair. And I think we're going to honor that at some point in the future. So that's good. I tell you, he went on to Oshkosh to the air show.
Yep. As did Evan.
And as did Evan, but Ed's pictures in the Corsair are better than Evan's.
Yes. Yes. Because
Ed looks like a 3-year-old in a candy store.
Yes, he does. I would venture to say Ed's a little bit older than I am. And my gosh, he looks like a child who has just absolutely won the toy lottery. He's sitting in there grinning ear to ear.
Well, he said it was a bucket list item, and I'm glad he kicked that bucket down because that's what life's all about, man.
Amen. Well, Mike, I assume your wallet's a little lighter than it was last week at this time.
Last week at the time of this recording, we were enjoying our first night in Madison, Wisconsin.
That's right. We had just made the first passes through the vendor room.
And I don't think I'd bought anything yet, but that certainly changed as the day went on.
Yeah. I look back on it and I didn't spend money-wise as much as I might have thought I did, but boy, I got a lot of stuff. So what did you get? What broke your wallet?
I don't know where to start.
At the beginning.
We're going to do it sequential?
That's either any way you choose.
Well, I'm going to start with books.
Okay.
There were 2 primary book vendors there. David Doyle was there, of course. He's did a lot of shows in our region, actually. Right. And then Casemate Books.
Yep.
And I picked up one book from Panzer Tracks. Well, the folks at Panzer Rex have kind of started, they've reconstituted that line of books.
Right.
And I'm really, really glad because there were a bunch of titles that I didn't have yet. And when Tom Yens passed, things kind of shut down. And I was really, really, really glad to see these books come back. So I got from David Doyle, I got Panzer Tracks number 15-2. It's the book on the SDKFZ 251 Alfs A, B, and C. And really glad to get it. I haven't bought a Panzer Tracks in, a long, long, long time. And I'm really glad to see these books back. And they're a little different now. They're on slick paper. So not that they were bad before, but I think the photos are a little sharper because of that. And the cover and front and back are a little sharper because of the heavy card and slick paper. Real nice book. But I really went nuts at Casemate. And I'll tell you why.
That's easy to do.
Because Casemate was running 30% off.
Yes.
And They may have even been doing a little rounding in there too.
They were indeed.
I bought 5 books from Casemate. From MMP Books, they carry the what's called the single vehicle series.
Right.
I suspect they're Polish in origin.
They are. It's Mushroom Model Publications.
Mushroom Model. And the first one I got was Polish Armored Drazen TK, which is a rail carrier for the little TK tankette. And I tell you, man, for a book that's only got 28 pages and was $12 list price, this thing's got a lot of nice drawings in it and a lot of nice original blueprint scans in it.
Yep.
And, I don't know if I'll ever build anything based on this book, but if I ever decide to, I can, because I think this is a pretty much a single source, one and done kind of reference, which is always good.
Yep.
Also picked up 2 of from Kagero. I like Kagero stuff.
Yep. Another
Polish publisher. Their top drawing series. I got number 47 and number 122. The 47's on the Renault FT and the American version, the M1917 light tank. And then 121's on the Ferdinand tank destroyer, German vehicle.
Yep.
Lots of line drawings, color profiles for the money. I think, we can debate the accuracy of the color plates or the line drawings ad nauseum, but for the money, they're definitely a good starting point. And I did not have anything on the FT17, so I'm good to get that.
Yep. I like the FT17. It just, to me, is neat.
And the Kagero purchases continue. Their Photo Sniper 3D series. I got number 14, which is volume 1 for the Hetzer and G13. And then volume 29, which is, again, the Renault FT17 and the M1917. Now, the Hetzer G13 one is interesting because what it offers beyond what has already been published. I've got several books on the Hetzer. I think most of them are from Motor Books International, MMI, or MBI. And I think some of this stuff is a little bit of a repeat, but they've got these cutaway isometrics and cutaway elevations of the Hetzer that are really good, and they kind of help you get perspective in the 3D space as to where stuff is versus just a line drawing. Just really well done. Now, the FT17 book does a lot of the same thing. There's a really good photo essay of a restored vehicle, and then there's basically 3D walk around of all the color schemes that they show in their color profiles. So good stuff, man. I really like some books, and I got some good ones, I think.
You're a librarian who occasionally builds models.
Well, my shelf's almost full. I'm going to have to get an annex.
Yep.
What about you, man?
Well, wait a minute. You bought some kits.
You go for your first one.
Oh, okay. We're going back and forth. Okay. Book-wise, I only purchased 2 books, but they were both ones that I was looking for. They're both out of the At War series that Casemate has. One is on the Cuban Revolution and the Bay of Pigs, and then one is on Indochina, 1946 to 49, basically the period of Japanese occupation followed by the French retaking their former colonies and the beginning of the first stage of the Vietnamese Revolution / Vietnamese War. When Casemate had 30% plus off, I could have spent a whole lot more. I had to restrain myself because at that kind of discount, it was really easy to start talking yourself into a bunch more purchases. But since this show, I actually leaned pretty heavily into kits, so I only ended up with 2 books. So what kind of kits did you buy?
I only bought 2.
And one of them is older than you are.
I don't know about that, but it's pretty old.
It's close.
Well, it's from the 70s, but we'll get to that second. The first kit I bought was from Special Hobby, who always comes in that, always has a big spread. I got a Heinkel HE 162.
Yep.
Volksjager or Salamander.
Yep. And
spats.
we may have plans for that in the future, might we?
We might do a buddy build because
Yes.
you bought one too.
I bought one too.
I'd rubbed it. I've wanted this kit for a while because I really like the aircraft. And at last year's Nats in Texas, they only had the Allied captured version,
Right.
which is the same kit, just different markings, right?
Right.
And I just kind of hedged on that because I thought that the decals in the kit were probably going to be pretty good and completely usable. So
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I was waiting to get a shot at the German boxing, and that's what I got, man. I got the.
And it didn't hurt that they were discounted. Special Hobby was discounting too.
Yeah, they tried to upsell me, but I had
Yes.
I had some fortitude there.
Good for you.
Now, my other kit purchase was an Airfix American M3 Lee in 32nd scale. Got this from Rare Plane Detective.
Yep.
And yeah, the intent is to build this thing. I've actually got one in the stash, but it's kind of trashed.
Well, the box on this one is beautiful.
Yeah, real nice box. I'll probably end up framing the box top somehow. I just like this artwork, and it's all there. It's in the bag as opposed to my other one, which is discovered there's something missing from it at some point.
Sure.
You know, for the early 70s, this wasn't a bad kit.
No, it's a great kit.
I would argue it's probably better than the Monogram 32nd scale Lee.
Right.
That might be a stretch, but I think it probably is. And I don't know. It just called my name and I bought it. Now, kit wise, you went nuts, man.
Well, okay. Volume. I got a lot of volume, but I got a lot of good deals. So the volume.
You did. So,
okay. Starting at the beginning, from Andy's Hobby headquarters, I bought the DOSWork U9. As longtime listeners know, when this kit was announced, it immediately tickled my funny bone. But when it came out, I did not pick up one right away. And then, I looked at it and was looking for a deal. Couldn't find one and couldn't bring myself to pay full boat retail plus. And so I put it off. And you and I walked by Andy's table, which had a lot of really neat stuff. Their 1/16th scale line, new DOSWork German train car, lots of stuff. But they had the DOSWork U-boat, the U9, for $80. And that was at least $25 to $30 cheaper than I've seen it anywhere without shipping. So I pulled that trigger really, really quick. I was happy to buy that one. A lot of the vendors were, just like we mentioned with Casemate, were running deals. One of the deals that really got me was Edward was there with all of their stuff. Now, they weren't there Wednesday. They apparently got held up, and they didn't arrive until after the vendor room closed on Wednesday. But they were there bright and early Thursday, and they were basically running 25% off everything. And then they made you a little better deal on Saturday. They had their Overtree kits, and Overtrees are just the kit parts in a box. There's no instructions, no decals, no masks or other aftermarket. But at the discounted price, they were basically selling them for between $8 and $9 a piece. And these are top of the line Edward kits. So I ended up with a ME 109 E4, ME 109 G5, G6, G14, Spitfire Mark 16 bubble top, and what was the other one? P51D, their brand new P51D. They already had an Overtrees as well. I actually bought a second 109 kit for Skippy, gave that to him. We had lunch on Monday, and I was able to get that kit to him. In retrospect, I wish I'd spent another $40 and bought like 4 more Overtrees kits, just simply because, I mean, at that price, they were almost giving them away. I'm super happy with those purchases. I also bought an HE162 from Special Hobby, and I also bought their re-released Whirlwind kit that has the upgraded parts. Oh, I got as the Musaru, I got the German submarine kits. So I did pretty good on models. I mean, I came home with a stack. It is lucky for us that Dave Goldfinch drove back from Madison to Toronto with some Canadian modelers, because we were able to fill his space in the car with the items we acquired. And we'd have had a tough time if we had to haul him back as well.
Well, you forgot some kits, man.
Wait a minute. Oh, the Model Collect kits.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. One vendor. I don't think they weren't a hobby shop. They weren't a traditional vendor. They were more of a secondary reseller. They had a bunch of Model Collect kits. And they priced their Model Collect 72nd scale armor at $20 a pop, and if you bought multiples, you got a better deal. So I ended up buying 3 Model Collect kits, Russian armor kits, a T-80, a T-72, or T-64, I forget which, and a BMP-3, and got them for under $50, all 3. There were deals like that to be had everywhere. If I had allowed myself to go just stupid crazy, I could have walked out of there with more models than we would have been able to fit in the car on the way home.
Well, I think you fell somewhere between normal Kentucky Dave at the Nats and stupid crazy.
Well, volume-wise, I did approach stupid crazy, but the prices were so good. I look back on it, I didn't spend that much money.
Aftermarket.
Oh, yes, aftermarket. What did you get?
I got one thing, Dave.
What'd you get?
I guess tools and equipment will be a separate purchase category. Special Hobby had all the CMK stuff, and I got some 72nd scale figures, some Imperial Japanese Navy pilots and mechanic figures, and these might end up with the E16 at some point.
Right.
And that really, for modeling aftermarket, that's all I bought.
Well, the only thing I really bought modeling aftermarket was I bought them more because I was amazed by them than anything else, although I can see myself using them. 72nd scale 3D printed bicycles.
Yeah, you did.
Guys, I bought these because when you looked at them, they're unreal. I would not have believed that you could 3D print that fine a detail. I mean, I'll put a picture up on the dojo. I literally stared at this thing and just could not wrap my mind around how they managed to print individual bike spokes in 72nd scale and not get misprint, short shot, all of the things that you can see with 3D printing sometime. I don't know what printer they're using. I don't know what. It was amazing enough to me that I shelled out the money to buy it.
And they probably weren't that much.
They were not. Again, and they were discounting stuff too, so it wasn't bad at all.
Well, between books and kits and aftermarket, I guess we're kind of left with tools and supplies.
Well, I bought a really nice poster or piece of art with Dick Bong's Marge that will go in my pool room, where I hang all of my aviation art. Really, really nice print that was very inexpensive given its size and its quality. And then I bought from the spray gunner guys, I bought a airbrush needle sharpener, a thing that you can use if you put a bend in a tip or something with an airbrush, you can actually dress the needle to bring it back into conformity. And that actually wasn't inexpensive, but I've actually used one. Our friend Randy Fuller had one, and I've used his once or twice, and I was really impressed by it. And so ended up picking one up. Did you get any tools or supplies?
I did. I bought a bunch of Infinity sanding pads.
I did too, and I also bought some thin gator grip white.
I got the Infinity, the soft ones,
Yes.
the big wide ones, and I got their more normal ones. And I guess it was the year of the sanding stick, because I got 2 sets of Infinity stuff, and then Squadron actually put a pack of the old Squadron sanding sticks in the registration packet.
Yes, which was a very nice thing. And we should mention Squadron was there in force and selling like crazy.
Yeah, they were pretty busy the whole time. But to go a little further, if I'm not entering models next year, I need to think this through, because I registered for the convention.
Right.
And I got a packet for that.
Right.
We registered as a vendor because we wanted the PMM table to be in the vendor room.
Right.
I got a packet for that.
Right. Which I did not expect the vendors would get that packet.
I didn't either. Either I'm dense or that's new to me.
That's new to me too.
So we appreciate it, but so the short of it is I ended up with 2 packs of Squadron sanding sticks.
Yep.
And that was pretty cool. So I'm set for a while.
And 2 sets of 48 scale aircraft decals. So unless you see something on there you really want, we may have to find a way to give those away.
Yeah, I think between us we have 3 sets of those.
Exactly.
And then I've got something from Bases by Bill. So
yes.
More on that later. Well, Dave, in keeping with our theme of the unusual at the National Convention, there was a vendor table along the back wall from an organization called Air Corps Library. The representative for Air Corps Library was a Mrs. Esther Albee, and I think she was from Montana. She told it better than either of us could, so let's just let her do it.
Absolutely.
So, Dave, we're always looking for unique things when we come to the Nationals to emphasize and give some folks some exposure. And today, we've run across Esther Albee from Air Corps Library. Esther, why don't you tell us what you do?
Yeah, so Air Corps Library is a website that offers access to 500,000 World War II aircraft engineering drawings and about 20,000 technical manuals.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
So now these are the original manufacturer's drawings.
Absolutely, yeah, and we source all the data from private collections. You'd be surprised how many people have a box of microfilm in their grandpa's attic that they run across and they don't know what to do with it, and we're the only people out there that are making this information available online in an easy to search and find format.
Okay. Now, this is your all's first time at the IPMS USA Nationals.
Yes, it is.
And I assume it's because the technical drawings would be something that a lot of modelers might have an interest in working on their models.
Yeah, so the site was originally designed for people who do aircraft restorations, which is our main part of the business.
Gotcha.
And the site's been up since 2015. And about 2 years ago, I did some demographic research and I realized that about 60% of the people who are using the website are model builders.
Okay.
And it was kind of a surprise to us. And so I decided to come here and just see what it was all about and meet some people and kind of try to put my finger on the needs of what this industry might be looking for. And it's been fascinating.
Okay. Now, all of this stuff is accessed through your website.
Yes. Yep.
What's the website?
So it's aircorpslibrary.com, and it's membership-based, so it's $9 a month or $75 a year.
Okay.
And that membership gets you access to everything that we have on the site.
And is it all downloadable?
So you can purchase high-resolution files and pay to download those individually,
Okay.
but for model builders, usually what I tell people is just take a screenshot. I mean, there's
Gotcha.
no reason you need to print out a drawing in its original size because no one's building to that scale. So,
Right.
yeah, people just take their screenshots, and some people take the information to make 3D models and then 3D print off of those models. I mean, it's a reference for people to use in whatever way they choose to use it.
Now, all the manuals, are those also downloadable for a fee as a PDF?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And those contain amazing images and exploded views. And I
Right.
mean, again, they're all the technical military published documents, so it's source information. But they, in addition to the drawings, are a great resource.
Now, what time period does your database cover? From what year to what year do you have?
Well, we're talking about specific aircraft. I'd say it's my time, 1935 to 1950-ish.
Okay.
So we branched a little bit out into some of the interwar year aircraft, and I'd love to go back further and do some World War I aircraft if possible. I mean, the site is growing all the time. We add new documents to the site every day, basically.
And are there some rarities in there? And there's a lot of those companies that have either been merged or gone away completely, like Stinson and Vultee and old manufacturers like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have data for that. I mean, we've got drawings for the BT-13, and we've got some Stinson drawings on there as well. I mean, the great thing about this data is that it was military distributed.
Okay.
So there's a lot of it just out there, and it's been floating around ever since the war, and yeah, it's all in the public domain.
Okay.
Which is amazing.
That answers that question. I haven't
Yeah.
asked yet.
Yeah, so I was gonna add-
Yep.
It's a lot of it purchased or in the public domain. So
You say you all are adding all the time. Is it just, are you going out and looking for stuff, or is this people coming to you saying, hey, I found this, do you want it?
It's mostly the latter.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both. Sometimes I'll hear through the grapevine about a collection of stuff that I get really excited about, and I'll reach out to somebody directly. But most of the time, it's people who find something, or they've got a collection of stuff, and they don't want to throw it away. They want it to go somewhere where the information's actually going to get used by someone. So they do some Googling, and to be honest, there's not very many people out there. Well, we're the only people who are doing this, at least the drawings part of it, online. And so when you
Gotcha.
search World War II microfilm, we're usually the first thing to
Okay.
come up.
All right.
So
is there any
yeah.
print photography or negatives in the collection?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, but I'm really excited to branch out into other stuff. I was just talking to somebody this morning about maybe getting some armor drawings on there, and branching out into vehicles and ships, and it would, yeah, that's my dream. That would be fantastic.
And not to ask a proprietary question, but about how many members do you have accessing the site every year? Do you know?
Our membership usually hovers around 2,000.
Okay.
Ish. I mean, it is pretty niche, but that's the amazing thing about modeling is that right now, even though 60% of our users are modelers, I would say it's still the bulk of the people using it are restoration companies and things like that. Modeling is kind of an untapped market. I mean, being here at Nationals, there's probably 98% of the people here have never heard of us and don't know what we're doing and don't know that we're a resource.
Yeah,
So,
I had never known at all that any of this exists.
right, exactly. So I'm just really excited to be here and talk to people about it. And yeah,
Well, how's it gone generally?
it's going really good.
You staying busy over there?
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
that's good.
I thought that, so in our restoration work, it's so niche within aviation that I had made the assumption that World War II aircraft were niche in the modeling community too.
No, it's kind
The
of
exact opposite.
Exact opposite.
big
So
deal, yeah.
that's been amazing for me. It's so cool to be in such a huge group of people that basically all of them are passionate about World War II aircraft.
Okay.
So that's awesome.
Now, are you all doing all of the back-end computer work, or do you build the website? Are you all handling, or do you outsource that to a third-party
Nope,
company?
it's just us. I mean, we built the website from scratch. I'm the only person currently that works on the website.
Gotcha.
I guess I'm not a programmer, but we just hired a full-time programmer to do some updates and add some new features. But yeah, right now it's just me, and work on scanning and scanning and scanning and uploading. So there's lots of work to be done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else you'd like to share about it?
I don't think so.
Repeat the website one more time.
Oh, sure. It's aircorelibrary.com. Yes. And yeah, I'm just excited to keep working with model builders and get more into this community. It's been really fun to be here. It's been a great experience.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting down with us for a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll throw a link in the show notes, and I'll have to check that out. Mike, it was really interesting to hear the AirCore story that they gathered and digitized all of this primary source material and were selling it to restorationists, and then went and looked at their customer base and discovered that a bunch of it was modelers. And so they decided to come to the Nationals, which it's really smart. It's really pleasing to see a company look at its customer base and realize they had outlets and customers that they weren't necessarily targeting. She was a really good spokesperson for what they're doing, and they've got a lot of really interesting stuff. And you're a modeler, particularly if you're a scratch builder or a detailer, they've got lots of stuff for you.
Well, they do, and I think the realization of the modeling side of that was all Esther.
Yes, it was.
And I don't know if you noticed, but she came by our table neighbor there sometime later toward the end of the show and ended up buying a vintage sailing ship.
Yes, I did.
I'm curious what she's going to do with that.
I'm looking forward to her entering that at Hampton.
Well, so folks, check out AirCore Library. They've got a lot of, like Dave said, original source material, drawings, etc., for original airplane parts and airplane assemblies. Should prove useful to some of you out there.
Plastic Model Mojo is brought to you by Squadron. Head on over to squadron.com for the latest in kits and accessories, all at a great price and with great service. Are you a modeler on the go? Check out the Squadron mobile app for your Apple or Android device for easy shopping from just about anywhere. Squadron, adding to the stash since 1968.
Mike, it was nice to see Squadron at the Nationals. You know, they're in the middle of their relocation, so they brought a ton of stuff. And my understanding is that when they left the Nationals, they were taking everything that wasn't sold to their new business location on the Georgia-Tennessee border.
Well, hopefully we'll get to catch up with Brandon. We should have caught up with him at the show, but
well, they were doing a land office business.
They were, and then we were completely enthralled with what was going on at the show. And I'm talking to Brandon, and we're going to get him on to talk about the Nats a little bit in the future and the move and what folks can expect going forward. But until that happens, Dave, you know, we run into friends of the show from all over the nation at the National Convention, but sometimes we run into somebody who's a little closer to home.
Yep.
And this year, as usual, he's always there. Mr. Ben Pluth, he's one of our Region 4 friends.
Yep.
And he's always got some 48 scale aircraft stuff going on, and a really good modeler and always fun to talk to.
Ended up getting me a 148 scale MPM ME 323 Gigant, and that's been one of my unicorns that I've been searching for the last 10 years of modeling. That
you need to contact Barry Newmark because he's got all the reference you're going to need to super detail that.
Yeah, that man is great with the fact that it's like the 72nd scales that he's been pumping out, and yeah, with that one, it's like it's just been a dream to try and find one of those and not break the bank.
So how good a deal did we get?
5 large on that one.
Oh,
okay.
Oh my.
5 Benjamins?
Yep, 5 Benjamins.
Now, was it new?
Yes.
Did Squadron have it here?
No.
Or did you buy it from a different vendor?
I bought it straight from MPM.
Okay.
Special Hobby.
Is it in production at all?
Very limited production. So
I still see, it's got its.
Yeah. So the thing was, a number of years ago, MPM, they released like a solid resin kit of that, and then I think they ended up updating it to fiberglass impregnated resin to lighten the load on it, because I believe the first versions they came out with, you actually had to have almost a 3-foot long dowel rod, or it's like a brass rod to
keep it from doing that.
Yeah,
keep it from dripping and getting droopy wings.
Inverted Corsair.
So why has this been your holy grail kit? What particularly is it about that?
So the thing is, it's like I've been wanting to collect as many German aircraft models out there on the market and get representation of, it's like I know the bigger aircraft you can only get in 72nd scale, and this was one of those unicorns that had eluded me at many a show. And the one opportunity that I had in Dayton, I want to say about 5-6 years ago, an individual wanted to sell theirs for about 8 Benjamins, and I was like, it's like I'll wait. And
so maybe you got a great deal on this one.
Yeah. So that, and also the fact that it's just a massive airplane, and just the cool factor of having that big of airplane is just amazing.
Now you said that was the final purchase of your show. Are
Yes.
you just out of money? Are you leaving tonight, or what?
No, I'm out of money. I'm not buying anything more. I'm gonna just go around the tables and drool at things I wish I could have picked up as well. But
gotcha.
I'm happy as a clam to finally find one of those checkbox off of the list. Finally done.
Well, it's probably the most expensive one on the list.
Yes. The other aircraft I've bought in the past that are probably equally as expensive now than when they were first released were the Italian trimotor aircraft, like the SM 82 and the Savio Marchetta SM79s, like in resin. But there again, it's like those aircraft are really hard to build, and hats off to Harvey Lowe. He put one of those Italian trimotors on the table up there, actually 2 of them, one 72nd scale and then one in 48 scale, that are just absolutely amazing.
Now, did you bring anything to enter in the contest?
Yes, I did, Dave. It's
What'd
like
you bring?
I brought the monogram P47 completely out of the box build.
Okay.
And that was supposed to be for a monogram group build that the Model Miscreants were hosting, and then that group build kind of fell apart near the end with different personalities on the show kind of going their separate ways. So I ended up putting it aside because of the time frame, and then I decided, might as well just bring it back out and finish it up and say, hey, it's like I actually finished it for the build. So but yeah, it's like I wanted to really showcase the fact that those old monogram kits can still be nicely done if you take your time with them.
Absolutely, they can.
Well, one more thing.
Yep.
Before we let you go here, you were doing something out in the other room. What was that about?
So I got a little bit bored, like coming to some of the nationals in the past, where it's like once you've spent all that you've spent, it's like you walk around. It's like you definitely converse with a lot of people, but it's like I thought, it's like, why don't I bring something to build? And that P47, go for full circle on it. I would go to Model Makers Unions meetings. It's a new club that Rob Adams started in Canada, but he's with the Model Miscreants, or now the Model Insanity podcast, and also the Model Makers Union podcast. I would go to the club meetings and work on it there, and now I've become accustomed to doing more mobile modeling. So I have a toolbox that has like pretty much full kit to do any sort of cutting and sanding and painting, but then also it's like the advent of these all-in-one handheld airbrushes with the little air compressors. I really really got bitten by the bug. It's like once I started using it, and have pretty much moved away from my normal airbrush setup to these to these little handhelds, because they actually work really great. So it's like I was out there with Floyd Warner today building, and then yesterday I was building as well, the same ME109 as he is. So it's like we were able to brainstorm and work off of each other's differences in what he's doing for building the 109 for the reviewer core.
Okay. So
it kind of worked itself out, and then also getting some inside tips of what I need to correct from the man that knows the aircraft in and out.
And what, you get many onlookers out there?
Yeah, it's like
conversations.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like the really cool thing is it's like before I came on the podcast here. A group of kids are out there right now, and they're taking over our space and actually building at this moment. So
okay, well, cool.
So it kind of brings it full circle that's what the Nationals is about, and it really helps to see that spurring on the hobby with the younger generation getting out there and seeing me and Floyd building. They got the itch to go ahead and start building themselves, and that's really special there. That you can't instill enough in the younger generation.
That's a good thing, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks for stopping by the table. We'll let you get off to your late lunch. And,
yep. I got to go judge later tonight.
And we'll see you. Maybe we'll see you in Louisville.
Don't miss that judges meeting.
Yep. Good to see you, Dave. Good to see you, Mike. Thank you again.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
It was nice to catch up with Ben. Always good to see him, always good to sit down and talk with him. I have no idea what he's going to do with that 48 scale Messerschmitt 323, but wow. I just, when it's built, I don't know where you put it.
It's kind of big.
Kind of big. So I'm sure he'll have fun. I'm sure what he produces will be great. I know that he's already talking to Barry Numerick, because Barry has tons and tons of research and information on the 323. So hopefully at some future Nats, maybe as early as Hampton, we'll see a Ben and his 48 scale Messerschmitt 323. Mike, we're almost at the end of our Nat-centric modeling episode. I assume you're down toward the end of your modeling fluid, as am I. So how is Breckenridge?
Breckenridge is surprisingly good. So, Brad, thank you for that. It's a little on the sweeter side as far as bourbons go.
Mm-hmm.
Often that is due to the wheat content. Kind of up the wheat. It gets a little sweeter in the distillation. It's really good. I'm just about down to the halfway mark, so it's about to get a little Tamiya tape on the cork, and we'll be transferred to Dave's little Jamaica.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know, that's another thing. I don't know that I've ever seen Breckenridge here locally.
If you went to a big box, it's probably there. Next time I go to Total Wine, I'm going to look for it, but
okay.
You know, it's from Breckenridge, Colorado. Whiskey with snow melt water from the Rocky Mountains. That's kind of cool. You know, it's interesting because my senior year of college, we took one more family trip in January of January 92 when we went to Breckenridge, Colorado, went skiing. So got a little connection there. The bottle's cool. When it was full, on the backside, there's a print of the Rocky Mountains. So when you look through the bourbon, you can kind of get a little mosaic there of the mountains. So it's cool. It's good. It's a little sweet, not in a bad way, just as a general whiskey statement. It's on the sweet side, which makes it easy to drink. So it's pretty good. So Brad, thanks a lot, man. What else you got, Dave?
Well, what I've got is the Black Hops Brewery Super Hornet Double IPA brought to us out of Australia by our friend Paul Gloucester. It's 8.7% ABV. The first sip of this is a little bit malty, but once you get into it, it is just really, really a nice beer. Very drinkable. particularly for a beer that's 8.7% ABV and tending toward the dark side. Sometimes those can be a little heavy, and this is full body, don't get me wrong, but it's eminently drinkable. And I really appreciate Paul bringing it because, again, I guarantee you this is a beer that, were it not for our listeners and our modeling friends, that I'd have never been exposed to. And that's one of the things with the modeling fluid segment is I love getting exposed to new beers, new bourbons, new whatever that I wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to try. And it's just a new experience. And this one was really good. Mike, we got an extended set of shout outs here because, my gosh, we have so much to be thankful for and so many people to thank. That's one of the things that the Nationals makes me realize every time I go, and even more so every time I go now, how many great friends we have, how many people that, were it not for the podcast, we'd have never met. It just absolutely a fantastic experience. So we got a lot of thank yous.
We do, and to pile on to what you're saying there, it gets into the unexpected when we started the podcast. And
yes, we never thought of this.
Just the community around it has gotten really big. It's really cool, and even not just our podcast, all the others as well.
Yeah,
we have a lot of overlap, and this year we've got a lot.
Yeah.
This year we've got a lot of folks who interacted with us and brought us some modeling fluid gifts or just stopped by to say hi or hung out with us in the dojo. And I'm going to run through all the modeling fluid gifts we got just by name. We won't get into what they actually gave because those are going to be featured in upcoming episodes, all of them.
Yep, absolutely.
On the beer side, we got Matt Schaefer brought us something, and Matt's at prior shows, Amps and prior Nats has organized the big dinners out for us. We appreciate that. And he brought us a little something to enjoy. Eugene Suida, and you mentioned Paul Gloucester.
Yep.
Now I've got a blank here. Whoever brought the pistachio cream ale to the dojo, please send us a private message. Let us know who you are so we can duly credit you because we appreciate that.
I think we wrote your name on the box and then we ripped open the box and put the beers in the cooler.
I think
so
that's
we lost track. We lost track and we apologize. Please send it in.
Yes, please do. And on the whiskey and bourbon side, Brad Belsheim tonight for tonight's modeling fluid. Also Michael Gaines, Don Gilman, and Andrew Bohr.
Yeah.
All brought us bottles. So, dude, we're set for a while.
Yeah. And Hamilcar Barkus, our friend from Germany through Evan, brought significant
Michael Lees,
which I just call him Hamilcar Barkus because I'm used to that from his YouTube channel. But he contributed, the Germans are proud of their beer. And so he and Evan went to a liquor store and he selected what he thought was the quality German import beers. And he brought a lot of them to the dojo. And a lot of them were drunk in the dojo, but we do have some that survive. So those will be showing up as future modeling fluids as well.
Well, that's the modeling fluids shout outs. The next bullet item on the outline is all our normies.
Yeah. Well, I want to start with Dave Goldfinch, who flew into Louisville, spent a couple of days here at my house. I got to take him to the Air Force Museum, got to take him to the LST in Evansville. We had just the best time in the world. It was fun hanging out with Goldfinch. Listen, if you listen to On the Bench, and you should, he is exactly the person you think he is when you hear him on the show. He is fun-loving and interesting and a great mate, as they might say in Australia. So I had a great time with Dave. And the other Dave, Dr. David Gelbacher, who drove up and then went with us from Louisville to Madison, had a wonderful time. And always good to see Dr. Dave. Fantastic.
Well, we got plenty of other normies, man.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned him once before, probably a couple of times. Paul Gloucester, also from Australia.
The Quokka.
He came in with Steve Hustad and Mark Copeland.
Yep. And Steve Hustad's wife apparently was quite enamored with Paul, and you can see why. He's just a really, really nice guy.
And then we saw all the other podcast friends of ours, mostly the geeks, man. The geeks were there in force this year. They had a few absentees last year, and it was nice to see Darren and company there and hang out and talk with all those guys at length, and just a good time.
It was nice of them to show up in the dojo and drink plenty of our beer and bourbon. We do appreciate that, but of course, what do you expect from a bunch of Navy guys? It was great to see them. It was great to see Evan and Michael Hamilcar Barkus. We managed to have a couple of shirts made up for Michael and got Evan his plastic model Mojo checkerboard shirt, which he wore to his presentation.
Well, we can't forget Adam Mann, their other friend.
Yes, that's right.
And he was hanging out with us and had a lot of good conversations about German armor and kind of I don't know what to say, the minutiae of that.
Yes.
He's a very detail focused person, and I really appreciated all the research he's doing and how it related to my preconceived notions and some of the work I'd done and things I'd seen. So appreciate Adam.
Oh, and finally, the Military Modelers Club of Louisville, our local club, brought a fair number of members, including Rich Gittig, our founder, Dr. Terry Hill, Brian Bunger, the guy who runs Scale Reproduction,
Alex Restrepo,
and
Julian, the
Lexington modeler.
The Lexington modeler with the Austria connection.
Yes. So it was nice to see all of the MMCLers come. It's you always feel a little bit of pride when your local club shows up in force. And it was nice to constantly look around the vendor room and see our club T-shirts walking up and down the aisles. So, guys, way to represent MMCL. I've got to say I'm a little proud.
And Dave Crouch.
Oh, yeah. Forgot Dave. Hi, Dave.
Can't forget Dave Crouch. Great.
No, because not only that, but he's going to get us he's the vendor coordinator for the local show, and he's going to get us a really good table.
All right. Well, our next shout out section is other folks from NATS who are either not our normies or not modeling fluid gifters.
Yes. In this category, I would like to particularly recognize all of the people, listeners generally, who I ran into, who told me it was their first nationals ever. There were at least 6 of them, and every single one of them just had the biggest grins on their faces. They were enjoying themselves like kids in a candy store. Every one of them, I always ask the same question to every one of them is, did I oversell the nationals? And every one of them told me, no, I did not. And I got to tell you, I take a little pride in that. That warms my heart because I know the memories they're going to take away from that experience, and I envy them that experience.
Well, I was firsthand witness to most of that, and yeah, when folks are grinning ear to ear, you just know it's their first one.
you could tell when they walked up to us. You could absolutely tell because they didn't know they were smiling. It was involuntary, and it was from ear to ear, and you could identify them on sight.
Well, I want to shout out Bill Moore from Middle Tennessee.
Yes.
Bill runs a Facebook group called The World of Armor, and he was certainly at the show, and I'd run into him at Knoxville when I stopped by Knoxville in the spring, and he'd wanted to use the logo on the back of his shirt. So Plastic Model Mojo is on the back of his shirt with a lot of other pretty well-known either podcasts or model businesses, etc.
Yep.
He gave us both T-shirts for the World of Armor.
Yep.
For his Facebook group. Really appreciate it. And, he'd invited us to dinner Thursday night several times, but, we already had some commitments with what we call our normies.
Yep.
And just couldn't pull it off. So, Bill, sorry about that, but thanks for the shirt. And it's good talking to you. And I think he was at the dojo one of the nights.
He was. And we've got to catch up with you at some future show. We'll go out and grab either lunch or dinner.
And I also want to shout out Bob Bear. Bob,
yes.
Under Duress was the MC for the podcast roundtable. And I say under duress, not because he did not want to do it. Bob fell victim to some gastrointestinitis issues somewhere early in the show and was riding the southbound train on the G&I Express. You're going to have to write into the show and tell us what was worse, the G&I Railroad or having TSA wreck your models. I'm real curious. Got any more, Dave?
Well, I do want to thank Steve Hustad, Mark Copeland, all the people we went out to dinner with the various nights. Madison has some amazing restaurants and food. We went to a supper club. We went to a Mexican restaurant. We went to a brew pub. Everywhere we went, we were with large crowds of modelers. And for all of you that we got to break bread with, I want to thank you. It was a wonderful experience.
Well, the final bullet on our shout out outline this episode is our patrons and financial supporters. We really appreciate this, folks. Eric Kinser and Robert Halleck are two new patrons. In addition to that, Chuck Doherty and Roger Newman have increased their contribution from their original pledge to something greater, and we really appreciate that. On PayPal, we've got Michael Hanlon and Scott Stakowiak, who've donated over recent months to PayPal. Guys, right now, I think we appreciate this even more because we keep alluding to it. We've got something in the works, a new platform. We're still kind of keeping that close to vest till we get a little further down the road, but all this helps us offset the cost of it and make this a reality. And I think everybody's going to enjoy it once we get there. So everybody contributing through PayPal or Patreon, we really appreciate it. If you go to the show notes for this episode or any of the past handful, you can find the links to all those avenues of support. And we just really appreciate it. It goes a great way to help us bring this show to everyone out there.
We're targeting some big changes, and those big changes require money, and we appreciate everybody who supports what we do. It's really, really gratifying.
Well, Dave, you got anything else?
No, other than I need to sleep for a while, man. I've got to recover. In the words of Roger Murtaugh, I'm getting too old.
Well, until you get your rest, Dave, as we always say, so many kits,
so little time, Mike.
Well, folks, thanks for joining us. And Dave, I'll see you on the flip side after we get a little rest.
You got it.